For those of you who don't know, GQ is a Rolling Stone style magazine that does like profile pieces, interviews, things of that nature. And after they had profiled the millennial Jon Stewart, Adam Friedland, they reached out to me as well and were like, well, we got to do the millennial Joe Rogan of the left, HasanAbi Piker. And I, of course, said, yeah. I mean, GQ is a big deal. This is a magazine that I read in Turkey, right? And I was very excited at the opportunity, and I took it. The article came out perfectly fine. The photos came out great. I am very happy with the process. The article starts with, Hasan Piker thinks America might be cooked. Martial law, canceled elections. The combative leftist streamer Hasan Piker predicts an ominous possible future for the U.S. He's fighting back the only way he knows how, by raging against Trump, Israel, Democrats, and the wannabe bad boys of the Manosphere, in between beefs with his ops and gym sessions with his boys. Articles by Kieran Press Reynolds. Photography by Molly Madeline. Here's how Hasan Piker starts each day. Working out, shooting the shit. It's Monday, 8:30 a.m., and we're in the backyard of a house in West Hollywood where there's a makeshift private gym with benches, pull-down machines, and dumbbells galore. This is where the 34-year-old political influencer keeps his thirsted after body fit, joined by a few other neighborhood characters, including a guy who works on Pod Save America. His Bernese beefcake, Kaya, tussles with a few other golden brown dogs. As Piker burns through a 70-minute workout, exhausting himself in the process, he strips his shirt off. An army of girls and gays, not to mention admiring looks maxers, would kill to be where I am now, next to Piker, as he pants in a pair of neon shorts with black Calvin Klein boxers poking out and the sunlight glinting off the sweat beaded on his chest hairs. I will say this dude's a great writer. He's a little irreverent in his tone, and he does something in this article that is like a little bit of a no-no, but journalists do all the time because they're under no obligation to listen to whoever the they're profiling. He's young, but he's a great writer overall, and I think a lot of people will. I'll get to the parts where I think a lot of people will probably take issue with, but it's not a piece at all. You guys are so stupid for thinking that. Anyway, Piker's trainers fib me out about how much he's bench pressing. 300 pounds, before the real number comes out, 175. His personal best is 285. The conversation among the 7 men and women grows increasingly unhinged. Jokes about semen retention exercises morphing into a discussion about which Hollywood plastic surgeon is least likely to kill you. The new meta is ballerina cups. Women only going for A to B to C cup max, Piker muses at one point. Meta is a gamer-derived term for state-of-the-art. Nick Fuentes is gay, he says at another, echoing a common attack on the far-right streamer. He definitely likes cowboy, he adds, referring to an infamous incident on one of Fuentes' streams, which we will not detail here. Groans, gossip, and athletic guidance fly from all angles. Good, Haas. Get taller. Face down. Ass up. Towards the end, Piker starts describing how a chicken wrap he's been loving recently is very fibrous and bottom-friendly, leading another gym goer to tease him about his diet. Have I been having anal sex? No, Piker responds. I've always had nice poops. What a way to enter the conversation. 175 was the beginning, okay? We were warming up. That's why it's 175 is what I was what I was pushing. I thought it was hilarious because it reminded me of the way my friends and I talk when we're over in our 40s. Travis Kelce, step aside. There's a new 6'4" hunk in town that's also wet. Piker has no filter. That's one reason he's the hottest left-wing political commentator online. His management team consists of one single guy named David. So he basically has no leash and answers to no one. Shouts out David. Shouts out to David, my manager, who is constantly responding to these inbound requests. I feel like this is a funny mention because it kind of shows that there is no like massive PR team or whatever the people speculate. And it's just like outlets reaching out and then, my manager responding. Anyway, every day, tens of thousands of people watch him dissect the news for 7 hours on Twitch. A typical stream involves him scrolling frenetically while clicking on links sent by fans in his chat, reacting to the latest viral clips and headlines, dishing with his viewers, and viciously sparring with haters. America Deserved 9/11 is one of his most infamous wisecracks. When Rush Limbaugh died, Piker played a clip of a dancing crab in celebration and vigorously bounced around his room. Piker's one of a new breed of streamers like Aiden Ross and Sneeko who are shaping the worldview of kids who never watch MSNBC or read the New York Times. In this online mirror world, Piker is the himbo gateway drug, introducing a legion of kids to progressive ideals like Medicare for all. Now, the reason why a lot of people, I think, took offense to this is because of the mention of Aiden Ross and Sneeko, but those are, whether you recognize it or not, some of the most recognizable figures in the streaming space that engage with politics. To normies. The only reason why he's bringing that up is because they are relevant names in this sphere, not because he's saying I'm ideologically aligned with Aiden Ross or Sneeko. So once again, don't get your panties all bunched up, chatters, okay? This is a normal way to describe this process. And then there's Gaza. Young people across America are calling out what they see as Democratic politicians' complicity in a U.S.-backed war that is more and more widely being called a genocide as Palestinians starve. Republican support for the war has been taken as a given, although MAGA Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has broken rank. Piker has opposed Israel's offensive since the start. It's the online arena where the most progressive but also most right-wing ideologies are taking hold now. In this unshackled world animated by constant beefs, Hasan is hated by both the right and center. He's a demigod and a demon, a crusader for good and a parasite on society, an empathetic hero and a so-called terrorist sympathizer. He claims the FBI might be surveilling him. Haters say they want him dead. As political experts sound alarms about authoritarianism, he's fighting back, one expletive and brain rot-filled live stream at a time. I mean, this guy's a great writer. I can't believe you guys thought this was a f***ing hit piece. And also, this is one of the few instances in mainstream media where they're actively talking about my position on Gaza and my politics without like sheltering you from the truth. They're not just simply saying like Hasan is a Democrat and progressive and is, hot. They're not doing that. They just like the dude straight up put a lot of the things I said in there. So I'll take it. After the gym sessions, Piker, Kai, and I load back in his black Mercedes-Benz and drive to his place, a large townhouse with a Suzuki motorcycle in the front and a slender pool in the backyard. Piker dips for a second to freshen up, leaving me to explore the house. Fan art litters the walls and TVs, hats, Trump has 2020, Jesus is my boss, Korea veteran, and Zin containers are scattered around. A set of shelves contain a slew of books, including Noam Chomsky's Profit Over People, Neoliberalism and Global Order, Tony Tulatume's incel epic Rejection, and numerous volumes of Marvel, Naruto, and Death Note manga and comics. He isn't beating the socialist who owns commodities allegations, but his house feels more like the product of a nerd who would write anime swords and free public transportation in his house does someone obsessed with luxury excess. Piker suggests we chill in his studio, which is even more chaotically cluttered than the rest of the house. There's a shelf stacked with rare World of Warcraft collectibles, a basketball, and a vinyl record of rapper Osama Sun's Jump Out. One corner contains a colossal Labubu doll encased in plastic. Behind it, there's a cutout of Bernie Sanders' classic diva pose at the inauguration and a poster of Barack Obama with Queen Elizabeth II. Cameras and mics flank an intricate recording setup that could pass for the bank of security devices at a Westfield mall. Piker, who's put on a black merch t-shirt for the Shrimmer Valkyrie, sits across from me and slurps an iced coffee. As we talk, I sense that Piker wanted to hold the interview here so he could keep an eye on his screens. His stream doesn't start for an hour, but the chat's buzzing with fans impatiently waiting for him to log on. That's how unbearable you guys are, by the way. That like you're so unbearable in the offline chat that a journalist peeks over at the active offline chat that and he sees all of you going, he's live. I'm baiting. He's live. I'm not baiting. He's actually live this time. Why isn't he live yet? And he sees that and he goes, wow, these guys are fucking insane. He's remarkably energized for a guy who just finished a punishing workout and spent the previous day playing basketball with influencer Ludwig Ogren and other friends. His team lost the first game, but came in clutch later on. I had to show these nerds what's up, he says with a laugh. By the way, for anyone looking to get buff and clutch games like him, here's Piker's supplement stack. 1 espresso shot, pre-workout, 4 creatine pills, fish oil, I don't eat seafood, zinc, ashwagandha, I don't know if it works, I just take it, minoxidil and finasteride. I'm technically on HRT, hormone replacement therapy. I have DHT blockers for hair loss that I've been taking for years now at this point. Zinc for the ropes? No, zinc is for sickness, no? I thought it was like for a healthy immune system. Is there a reason why you take creatine pills instead of the powder? Yes, and that is because I just don't mix it with anything. I just down it as pills. Piker grew up in Turkey, developing his leftist worldview against the backdrop of Prime Minister and eventual President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's regime. What is this silent G? That's funny. He moved to America, rushed to frat at Rutgers University, impressed girls, and Nepo babied himself into working for his uncle, Cenk Uygur, who owned the left-wing news network The Young Turks. Piker went full-time streaming in 2020 and has since become the most popular political creator on Twitch with over 2.9 million followers. Bernie Sanders, AOC, and numerous other celebs have hopped on his stream. His work ethic is terrifying. In 2020, he claims he spent 42% of his time on camera, more than 10 hours a day. I'm an addict, he says. I've been an addict my whole life, so everything I do, I get addicted. Twitch streaming, working out, eating healthy. Piker describes his career as a protracted and so far largely unsuccessful effort to pull the Democrats to be more radical, to be actually progressive. This was my favorite paragraph in the entire article, by the way. Okay, I'm going to start it from the start. Piker describes his career as a protracted and so far largely unsuccessful effort to pull the Democrats to be more radical, to be actually progressive. While he's beloved by many leftists, he's often reviled by liberals, the centrists, whose views are largely reflected by the party leadership. This became especially clear after October 7 Hamas attack on Israel. You have a guy like me, name is Hasan, and I'm saying, no, you don't understand. Israel is still very much the responsible party for October 7, for like 75 years of brutal occupation and apartheid. And people were like, oh, you're a terrorist. And that really hasn't gone away. Last year, Democrats first invited him to and then ejected him from the Democratic National Convention after he interviewed some delegates who were part of the undecided group protesting Israel's war in Gaza. I just eat it from both ends in that issue, he says. You're getting hate from the far right, and you're getting it from the liberals and the centrists and the institutions. So you just have nothing. You only have your community. You only have your grassroots backing. But in recent weeks, with videos of starving Palestinian children flooding social media, more Democrats are speaking out about the war. Piker won't give them credit for that just yet. I'm used to Democrats operating in this incredibly cynical way, he says. So I'm not surprised by this about face, if you can even call it that. Many people aren't even doing an about face. They're mostly just ass covering. Piker's also quick to call out his peers in the Manosphere, saying that social media has putrefied into a hate-filled hellscape, worse than the subculture that gave rise to Gamergate, the coordinated misogynistic attack on women in the video game world that was an ignition point for the modern reactionary right. Hate-filled hellscape worse than the subculture that gave rise to Gamergate, the coordinated misogynistic attack on the women in the video game world that was an ignition point for the modern reactionary right. This rage chamber is thronged by far-right figures like Andrew Tate, white supremacists like Fuentes, and outwardly apolitical podcasters and streamers like Nelk Boys and Aiden Ross, who fawningly interviewed Trump ahead of the election in 2024. I call it vice signaling. These guys, whether they're real villains or not, are presenting themselves as bad people, and people like it, Piker says. Nobody likes cancel culture, but goddamn, that shit was keeping motherfuckers in check. Of course, Piker himself is an edgelord too, eager to breach taboos just on behalf of progressivism. For example, he proposes Nuremberg-style trials for those in the media who he sees as taking part in a propaganda apparatus for the state. He says he told the Nelk Boys straight up that they should be tried. But, Piker continues, there are far more consequential, far more noteworthy figures that deserve to be put on trial than like the Nelk Boys. Specifically, he says, New York Times columnist Bret Stephens. Piker may be the product of an often irony-poisoned online space, but his defense of the Palestinians is pure and deeply felt, as it is among large swaths of Gen Z. So he was incensed when Stephens recently wrote that there is no genocide being committed by Israel. Literally 3 days after, like a Jewish-Israeli Holocaust scholar wrote a New York Times editorial saying it's definitely a genocide, Piker says. Bret Stephens came in hot and was like, no, actually, listen to me instead. On July 15th, Dr. Omer Bartov, a professor of Holocaust and Genocide Studies at Brown University, wrote a Times opinion piece headlined, I'm a genocide scholar. I know it when I see it. A Stephens column, No, Israel is not committing a genocide in Gaza, followed 1 week later. Piker may see mainstream media as propaganda, but he blames prominent online figures for actively suppressing criticism. He says many creators keep silent to avoid retribution. They're fearful of the mass doxing and hate raids they'll incur from some of the top content creators in the space right now. Piker is, for that reason, paranoid, and justifiably so. Sinking back into his chair, he says that years ago during a live stream, he was swatted. Someone had anonymously sent SWAT team to his house. He was arrested, handcuffed, had a gun pulled on me, helicopters, he recalls. I heard something going on outside, and I was like, what the f*** is going on? Is dudes with AR-15s going, get the f*** out? Piker, it was widely reported, was also recently detained by Border Patrol when he returned to America from France. He says he was interrogated about his politics, especially as they relate to President Trump and Gaza. Yeah, I mean, this was the first time I openly revealed. This was in many houses ago. So I said it in the interview, long time ago. Of course, it's a constant issue for streamers, and I felt comfortable revealing this because it's been a long ass time. And also on top of that, many other streamers have also personally revealed their experiences, but it's a super common one. And I'll tell you this much. When I was in a different, when I was in that 2-bedroom, for example, when I was away from the camera for extended periods of time, sometimes I wasn't cooking. That's all I'm going to say. You keep that secret for obvious reasons because, you know, sometimes the chair memes are not because I'm just away from camera for no good reason. Sometimes I'm the one getting cooked. Yeah, motherfuckers were like, Wow, he's doing chair reacts. Meanwhile, I'm like fucking getting handcuffed and slammed to the ground by cops, screaming at them, telling them do not enter the house because the cameras are on. And of course, you don't like I've deliberately kept it a secret for a very long time because and you will never see the cops because like you don't want to give anybody the satisfaction. You don't want to give anybody the satisfaction of like knowingly doing this and succeeding in doing so. So yeah, of course, I ate it for years and years and years and kept it a secret for years and years and years. It's just a normal part of the process alongside death threats that I receive with regular frequency. But there's a reason why many streamers keep that stuff a secret because it creates copycats. Anyway, the incident led him to cancel a trip to Cuba, fearing that it could be used as an example of him visiting a state sponsor of terror. He's certain he's being surveilled by government entities. I've had brushes with federal law enforcement, mostly around the death threats that I receive, Piker says. But in those conversations, they elaborate further. They're very knowledgeable about who I am and what I do. Is it the FBI? I cannot confirm nor deny, he demurs. It's so funny that it's like me talking about getting swatted, me talking about like death threats, me talking to members of law enforcement, allegedly the FBI, who knows? And then right underneath it is a picture of me naked in my bathtub with a rubber ducky. While he's unfiltered and earnest while streaming, Piker has managed to keep his off-stream activities secret, refusing to air out his private life with friends or paramours the way that many of his peers do. So when I first arrived at his home in the morning, I was surprised to find his mom, Ulker, an art scholar, just chilling in the living room. She complimented me on my shirt and asked what it referenced. When I told her Drain Gang, the experimental Swedish music collective, Piker went into hysterics. During our interview, I try to squeeze out whatever intel I can find about Piker's romantic life, which is feverishly gossiped about on Reddit. I asked point blank if he's dating Valkyrie, the massively popular gaming streamer, and he looks freaked out. Oh, come on. Please don't put that in the article, Piker says. For obvious reasons, there is a lot of speculation on all of the female peers that I have in this space that I regularly have on stream, that people who have incredibly parasocial bonds with content creators routinely speculate on whether I'm romantically involved with them or not. Obviously, I don't want any sort of hate going their way. I don't want the psychopathic haters to fucking go after these people, which is precisely why I will always spike when asked questions like this and say, I keep my private life private. Everybody knows I'm dating Austin. I don't entertain this stuff at all. And the reason is obvious, because people are incredibly vicious. Oh, come on. Please don't put that in an article, Piker says. I just want to keep certain things private. I don't even want to fuel speculations. Think of me as an asexual being. He plans on settling down eventually. I mean, I literally told him. I told him straight up before the interview as well. I don't talk about my private life. If you ask me like even names or anything directly, I'm not going to answer it. And as he said, like, this is a common meta on Reddit, common speculation. But the reason why I will never confirm nor deny or just never confirm anything about my private life is because there are a lot of active psychopaths who literally go after every person that's on the stream, but especially women, including Cutie Cinderella, who was in an open relationship with another content creator, Ludwig. People literally speculate on that and go after them and literally constantly attack them viciously. I don't think that this is appropriate. They're an open like as in, guys, shut the up. I mean public, okay? I don't mean like literally in an open relationship. I mean public relationship. Out in the open, okay? Out in the open relationship. God damn. That's it. That's the reason. Like, it could have been any name that this person brought up. The answer would still be the same, obviously, because it's not, there's a lot of people that I collaborate with that get like unfairly maligned and unfairly attacked and unjustly persecuted. There's stalkers out there, you know, and they do the same as I described here to all of the other people that are involved with me. He plans on settling down eventually, shielding his family from the noise generated by his fame as much as possible. It's definitely something that I want. I would just keep it private. I would keep my child, potentially, if I were to have one, offline. The desire to safeguard his inner sanctum makes sense, given how many influencer overlords have Piker in their crosshairs. Maybe his most deranged beef this year was with Ethan Klein, the popular content creator and former co-host of their old joint podcast, Leftovers. The feud started over Gaza. Both call it a genocide, but Klein has called Piker a terrorist sympathizer, and Piker in turn has called Klein racist. This is the most favorable interpretation of Ethan Klein's behavior, for the record, who has both called it a genocide and not called it a genocide, uncalled it a genocide, and spends every waking moment attacking those who have called it a genocide with regular frequency, calling them racist. Anyway, the spat spiraled into online mayhem, sucking everyone in these creators' orbits into a vortex of toxicity. Klein will call you a token Jew after this interview comes out, Piker warns me. I did pay you $7 million to do this interview. Some have accused Klein of having a psychosexual obsession with Piker. He talks about my body and the way I look a lot, Piker says. I don't know why. Maybe it's low-hanging fruit for him. He was always a funny guy. He was never a big looker or anything. It wasn't part of his brand. So I never thought he cared about that sort of thing. But maybe after he lost the weight, his personality changed a bit. I genuinely don't know. Last time I talked to Ethan, he was fat. I mean, he still had his issues, but at least he was seemingly more empathetic. Now, this comes across like I'm fat shaming him, but I was actually sectioning off like fat Ethan as a separate entity than current Ethan, if you know what I mean. Intentionally, I wasn't like trying to fat shame him. I was just saying like that was in my mind, that is a different person because of who he has become. Some people will say he was always that guy. I certainly was deluded and I was blind. Also, I didn't bring this up. He did, for the record. Like the journalist did. I would not have brought up Ethan Klein on this profile if it were up to me. Anyway, the Klein fight reveals just how insular and incestuous the world of streaming is. These beefs and online personae are the substrate from which Piker, the streamer in person, springs. He texts with AOC sometimes, sure, but his close friends aren't campaign strategists and professional politicians. They're the creators he plays basketball with, like Ludwig, Buddha, and the video game speedrunners like Point Crow, and the influencers. By the way, I didn't say that these are like my best friends or whatever, okay? He asked me who I played basketball with, and I told him the names, like, and then he just wrote it as though we're like constantly hanging out. Like, it's so funny. Point Crow's gonna be like, what the f? And the influencers goes podcast, Cutie Cinderella, Will Nev, and Austin show. You could visualize the streaming world as a series of lunch tables or loose clusters of collaborators like the AMP Collective and the FaZe Clan. This world of influencers is its own Hollywood with a distinct cast of A-listers and cult faves. Piker recently attended creator Tara Yummy's birthday party at the Roosevelt Hotel. A weird collision between old and new school celebrity where FaZe Adapt and Jason the Ween sidled up next to Miranda Sings and Love Island contestants. Indie Sleaze documenter Cobra Snake shot the photos. In LA, Piker likes to hang out with the Roomies, a gamer lifestyle streamer house run by people like Valkyrie, Fuseli, and Tina Kitten. When he's in New York, he socializes with professional media world friends like Adam Friedland and the other cheeky stars of Leftist Pause, Chapo Trap House, and TrueAnon. Piker's thoughts are so frenetic, I can't help but probe him on anyone and everything, like whacking a pinata to see what falls out. He denigrates Asmongold and ContraPoints, praises I Show Speed and Joshua Citarella, says the fact that I watch the surrealist YouTuber JReg means I'm fried. I test him on a scatter spray of media heroes and villains. Curtis Yarvin and Peter Thiel, baby-brained, LARPing as educated people. Even William F. Buckley would make mincemeat of these guys. On one of his 3 desktop computers, he pulls up a long-winded X thread in which Yarvin called billionaires a censored version of the N-word. He didn't actually say the N-word, which is kind of funny because I thought the point of wanting to kill cancel culture was so you could say the N-word as a white guy. He tells rich people that they're f***ing gods, and rich people love hearing that from a guy who's maybe read one Nietzsche book or something. Yeah, I was linking him stuff IRL. I'm a linker. I mean, I do this literally with my friends where we just sit on the couch and I show them like stupid Instagram memes and shit. Red Scares Dasha Nekrasova and Anna Kachian. I don't think about them at all, but they're annoying and kind of dumb. I don't think they like me too much because I'm progressive and not a shithead. Zoran Mamdani. Big Z's the man. He's great. He's going to implement woke Sharia in New York. Very excited about that. All the buildings have the face Mecca. That kind of good stuff. Drain Gang. I can't believe you told my mom that. One of the main things people criticize Piker for, besides the whole champagne socialist thing, which is overblown, is taking criticism poorly. Piker acknowledges while also criticizing the criticism of how he takes criticism. Still, he seems to realize he's made mistakes in the past. He cites ReactGate, the backlash he faced for putting content on stream while stepping away from the camera for extended periods of time. This is so crazy and so niche to talk about on Gentleman's Quarterly, he says with a chuckle. I did not respond well to that at all. I apologized immediately and said I would never watch the critics' videos again, but then people kept hammering it over and over again. And after a while, I was just like, all right, well, these people. Now he only watches YouTube videos from people he knows. As obnoxious as methods are, Piker clearly has genuine convictions. Remember what the web was like back in the 2010s when YouTube was overrun with mini Ben Shapiro's and wrecking blue-haired SJW's compilations? Now there's a cluster of progressive influencers who Piker proudly calls HasanAbi heads. He co-signs Sean the Black, Chris Kunzler, Jam, and overzealots. He's also trying to mentor new establishment dem influencers like Dean Withers and Harry Hasan. I told Dean, well, I don't know why he added Harry Hasan in there. I did talk to Dean Withers in the past, though. I told Dean personally, 1, stop with his liberalism. Cut it out. Become more leftist. And 2, try to do things that are not just debate focused, he says. They're not listening to me, so who knows? I think there were more people that I added on there, like Michael from Pennsylvania as well, but I guess they didn't make the cut in print. Some would argue that if the Democrats were smart, they'd go all in on leftist populism and subsidize a Piker-led creator boot camp to help beat back Trump 2.0. But Piker has no faith in liberal politicians. He thinks Kamala Harris, who currently leads in many polls about prospective Democratic presidential candidates, has no shot in 2028. He's not even convinced there will be elections in 2028. I mean, it's moving in that direction pretty hard. All it takes is one big event for Donald Trump, who's been salivating at this, to be like, it's martial law time, Piker says. First, they will take out or erode some of these constitutional protections, whether it be due process, birthright, citizenship, and the First Amendment. Then they'll rebuild the legal system to their advantage in a way that suits their white nativist agenda. Once again, the reason why I appreciate this article is because while it ends up humanizing me and showing me in maybe even more vulnerable settings, and reveal certain aspects of my life, like the death threats and the swatting and all this shit, it also simultaneously does a decent job of showcasing my perspective. They very clearly define my worldview, and it is in good faith. It's not in bad faith at all. The reason why I say this is because, like, if it was negative, they could have just slammed this chock full of shit, like Hasan has said this and that. He loves Hamas. He loves terrorism. All this stuff. It doesn't take that tone or that approach at all. It very clearly shows what I believe in. It very clearly says that I am authentically engaged with the commentary space and the things that I advocate for. It's like, yes, I'm stubborn and hard-headed, but also it doesn't mince. It doesn't like chop up my words or my ideology in any way. So it's ultimately, I think, the tone that people are stuck with, or that one moment where it's like, don't ask me about that sort of thing. I don't talk about that sort of thing. That moment is like, that's typical journalism. It's like, it is what it is. I don't know why people say it's bad. I mean, I think it's very good. I like it. I mean, dude, look at this. This alone is perfect. First, they will take out or erode some of the constitutional protections, whether it be due process, birthright, citizenship, and the First Amendment. Then they'll rebuild the legal system to their advantage in a way that suits their white nativist agenda. That's a direct quote down to my unconditional, uncompromising defense of Palestinian emancipation. Most serious news outlets that have tremendous amounts of editorial control will not allow stuff like that to be written, especially when it's a positive profile. If you're giving a positive profile to a person and that person's worldview doesn't match with the agenda of the newspaper, they won't cover it as such. Even the New York Times, when they were writing a positive profile on me in the style section, if you remember, said, Hasan makes a claim that Israel is doing a genocide in air quotes. Do you understand? As he prepares to start up a stream for the day, Piker says, I wonder what this is doing to my brain. This is a gesture at the many vectors of anguish and evil in his life. The always-on work schedule, the paranoia he feels about his private life being overrun, the doxing and the swatting, the volume of vitriol he receives daily from right-wingers demanding that the government arrest me because I'm a terrorist and that Twitch banned me. I wonder to myself if his fitness and diet regimen are attempts to counterbalance the stress he puts on himself. The answer is yes, by the way. That is precisely what keeps me grounded. My family and my loved ones, and also my rigid schedule that I abide by, is precisely what keeps me grounded no matter what. That's why I've been able to maintain a positive mental health, positive mental space, in spite of being able to do this for 8 hours a day. It's crazy. He said in the past that he eats exactly 1.1 pounds of roasted chicken breast with low-carb pita, mezza, and sauces for lunch every day. Still, he thinks the Make America Healthy Again movement is full of fucking charlatans. Medicare for all, TRT for all, Ozempic for all, HRT for all. That's my argument. Piker can't get lost in thought for long. Our interview made him late to start streaming. His viewers are angsty as Piker pops us in and attempts to film an Instagram video that announced the stream. He roars after the app shuts off midway. He shoots it again, then launches the stream, blitzing through the news. Sydney Sweeney, white supremacy ad. Texas Democrats fleeing to avoid arrest. White women posting Nazi salute selfies on X. A viewer sends him a link that turns out to be a Grindr audio clip. That viewer is Nandre. F you, Nandre. You made it to the goddamn Gentleman's Quarterly article because of your insane clip that you sent me. I don't know if I can show this. What is this, Piker mumbles. You are fighting for the people in Gaza who are starving for food. The audio clip begins, but you forgot about me, the need that I have for a cock in my mouth. Piker goes silent for 10 seconds. That'll be it for today. Some things are better left on watch. Soon, I get up and leave. I walk out, and Piker is left alone, rambling at 3 screens. And that's it. That's the article. And they ended it with a beautiful photo of Kaya laying on my lap when I'm on the couch laying down. Overall, great article. I am very happy with it. I think this is a very positive profile. That's the top story on the front page of GQ right now, by the way. Hell yeah. Love that. I think it'll get a lot of looks. These things end up compiling and compounding. Shouts out to Nandre for it up, of course. And now Kaya is a GQ girl. How much does the PR cost you? $0.00. And maybe a decent chunk of my mental health. But that's it. Rage Bay final boss. Yeah, this is 13,000 likes, by the way. Hasan Piker on Zohran Mamdani. Big Z's the man. He's great. He's going to implement woke Sharia in New York. Very excited about that. All the buildings have to face Mecca. That kind of good stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm a normal dude. And as a normal dude, like, these are the things that I do. And they basically mentioned my worldview fairly well. So I'm very happy with it. I think this is like a very humanizing piece. The author is obviously a very good writer, for the record. He's a Pitchfork writer as well, I think. He's a very good writer. He's young. He did the classic like journalist thing where you just ask like a gotcha thing, and that's it. He made news out of the way he dealt with that situation. Yeah, I don't see it. This reads like every GQ article ever. It's supposed to have a laid back, unserious tone. Exactly. Brother, the same journalist who wrote this article did the interview with Adam Friedland. And in the Adam Friedland interview, he got Adam to talk about how he shit his pants one time. This is, yeah, GQ is men's Cosmo, as you can probably tell from these photos. Remember, just as you wouldn't show my Bradley Martin podcast interview to your 68-year-old grandparents, you're not supposed to show this to your 68-year-old grandparents. You're supposed to show the style section, the New York Times piece to them. Every magazine and every media outlet serves a different purpose and serves a different audience. Okay? GQ is for the young professionals that still read in print. It's for the young professionals. And for that crowd, I think the tone of this article and everything else it does is perfect. You wearing shorts here? No, my penis is out there on this. My dick's out. Stop trying to remove the bubbles with your mind or try to get the AI to remove the bubbles. Okay, don't do it.